and welcome back to JM University. If this is your first time here, my name is Jason. If you're making your way back from another video, as usual, respect. This is the part 2 of ways to close more deals. Now look, I know I haven't posted in a couple days and I apologize for that. But I've been working hard in the background to get a lot of content delivered straight to you. So just relax. Don't yell at me. You'll see, it'll be worth it. So let's get into it. The next thing to understand is that you always must ask one more time. This is a perpetuating rule because one more time is one more time is one more time. This is what separates the averages from the great. To continue to ask and to continue to persist, to find another way to circle back after being told no. To figure out how to reposition yourself in your negotiations and ask one more time is ultimately what will make you a closer. This is why it's so important to have an arsenal of places to go and different closes. This area of persistence is also a social issue because, once again, you were taught as a child that persisting to ask was rude, that you're not listening, and that you're stubborn. Heard that a couple times. Stubborn is a good thing. Asking again and again and again is a sign of someone who knows how to be successful. It's a sign of someone who is committed and dedicated to his or her product. You should treat every opportunity to close as if your life depends on it. In this world, there are more quitters than persisters. Not even sure if that's a word, but we'll go with it. But which one is more valuable? You need to practice not quitting. Rehearse over and over and over. And please, practice on yourself. Trust me, you're better to practice on yourself than a real customer. Next is always stay with the buyer and reduce the number of times that you leave them alone. This is important. Each time you leave them to go check something or ask a manager for something, this establishes some lack of credibility in your prospect's mind, being that you really don't know what you're doing. While it is important to leave and go check with the third party at times, you do not want to overuse this. Leaving too much lowers the perceived value of the salesperson and reduces the customer experience to negative. Now, is there still an appropriate time to leave and use that third party? Of course, it's an amazingly strong close. You just need to make sure that you're not doing it too often. Next, and this is a huge one. Let me get closer. This is a huge one. Always acknowledge the offer. Always acknowledge the buyer for every offer they make and every communication they make, regardless of what they offer, even if it's absolutely ridiculous and not acceptable. See, the wannabe closer does not even take time to acknowledge the offer because they just want to sell the proposal. Once somebody offers something, at least you're moving them in the right direction, right? If you don't take the time to actually acknowledge their offer, your prospect will immediately now become more solid on what they offered because they didn't get acknowledged. Think about that for a second. No matter how ridiculous, how stupid, or how crazy, always acknowledge them by saying a variation of, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, thank you for making that offer. Or, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I appreciate that you have made that offer, but you're crazy. Don't say that. You can then follow this up with something along the lines of this. Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, by taking money out of this program, product, service, we open ourselves up to risk and put some of the outcomes that we've described at jeopardy. This is the right investment, but if we have missed something here, I'd be happy to go back and rework the solution to come back with a different investment. Does it make sense to move forward with this plan, or should we come back with something else? You see, you are moving in the direction of the objection, but at the same time, you have acknowledged their offer and shifted them back to the close. Next is you need to always agree with the buyer. This is not the same as the customer is always right, because that ain't true. You and I both know it. I think that this old saying just got confused with just being agreeable in general. Just agree with them. Whether they're right or wrong is not the issue. If you want to solve an issue, then obviously conflict is not the way to go about it. right? If you want to resolve disagreement, it only requires you to agree with the other person's point of view, so you can then handle the disagreement. Think about it. For a disagreement to exist, there must be two sides, right? But if one side agrees, then the disagreement is over. Really as simple as that. And the final point in this series is always know that you don't truly provide a service until you close. I've said this one before, but it's worth repeating because this is critical. Selling, presenting, marketing, building, training, making friends are all commendable, but they don't close deals. Breathing is important, but the reality is it isn't the breathing you want to do, it's the living, right? Unless you got some really weird fetish for breathing, but who knows? So, living is to breathing, as closing is to selling. Of course it's important to sell, but closing allows you and your company to expand. Be willing to do what it takes to close the deal, and know that everything you do until you get that critical survival exchange point has no real value to the customer. While some of the things here are original to me, most of what I have learned has been taken from and edited to fit my style. This is what's needed to be a great salesperson. These are the rules you need to live by, study, learn, practice, rehearse, and repeat. The next series we'll be focusing on is objection and how to actually deal with them. This is the meat, the guacamole, the cheese. It's the if you don't like and subscribe, you'll miss it. So as usual, I appreciate your time and I'll see you in the next one.